I'm Angeline. This is a message for the people on the Ancient Southwest Facebook group who are looking for running buddies, running partners, people to go exploring with. If you're watching this on YouTube, head on over to Facebook and check out the group Ancient Southwest. Lots of people in the group, including me, like to explore the Ancient Southwest and learn the history that happened on this continent before European contact. It's an important part of the history that we are working to be taught correctly, and in order to do so, we have to understand it correctly. So lots of people like to go exploring and learn a little bit about what's in the backcountry. And often it is best to try to explore with hiking partners or traveling partners just for safety. So people have been asking for a way to connect with other people who are interested in exploring the Ancient Southwest, and this is a means by which to do so. This is a little intro video to help you know how to do that. Over on the Facebook group, Ancient Southwest, all you have to do is either contact me directly, Angeline Duran, by sending me a Facebook message and telling me the date, your name, where you want to go, how long you want to be gone, sort of the details of your event. Is it overnight? Does it involve hiking? Does it involve driving? And I will post it as an event in the group. And then from there, you can continue to have discussions with other people who might want to join you. I'll facilitate these and moderate these events, but it's a way that we can kind of keep things organized and people can know what's going on. I wanted to make a video about this because there's a few things that I want everybody to remember while touring the backcountry, especially archaeological sites. Now, from the most strict and broadest perspective, the American Antiquities Act makes it a felony to deface these sites in any way. That would include, ruining imagery you see, moving artifacts. To be honest, it actually includes touching the artifacts. It includes, picking something up off the ground, a pottery sherd, something like that, or touching the petroglyphs or pictographs, because it does actually permanently damage the integrity of the site. As far as paint, you can flake off the paint and make it erode much more quickly. As far as petroglyphs, there's a sheen over rocks that is able to be tested for age, and that's one way that technology continues to evolve for ways to date these sites. But petroglyphs are notoriously difficult to date because the technology isn't as advanced as it could be to do that right now. It's getting better, and there has been some success in dating through different technologies, but it requires for that layer of, what do you call it, oxidation, or even pollen, anything that's gathered on the top of that petroglyph over an extended period of time, that needs to be intact in order for these things to be tested and we can learn more about them. So touching petroglyphs, even though they look like just rock, please don't do that because it ruins it forever. If you were an archaeologist and you reached down to even pick up one pottery sherd off the ground, another archaeologist might turn to you and say, do you have an excavation permit for that? Because once you're touching artifacts or moving them, you are technically excavating. So these are all general no-nos when visiting ancient sites that are law related. But as far as culturally related, they look like many of these ancient sites that are out in the wilderness. They look what we would call abandoned. It looks like you may feel like you have discovered something that has been forgotten to time. That would be a mistake to think that, because as we should know by now, we dark people of the Americas, and all the Native Americans that are all around you, everywhere, no matter where you live, are here. The ancestral sites that you may be visiting are somebody's family's heritage. And the way, oftentimes, sites will be visited by descendants of the people who made them, and ceremonies will be performed there. The sites will be used. They'll be used for praying. They'll be used just to visit and remember the ancestors. And it is for those people's benefit that those sites are there. They're not museum pieces. They're actual parts of family tradition and history that belong to a people who at the time, just like everyone's ancestors were at some time, hunters and gatherers, or living off the land in some way. No matter who you are in the world, your ancestors lived off the land at some point. And so these are the homes of those people. We're fortunate in the Southwest that our environment is such that these places get preserved very well. If we lived in a snowy condition or we lived in a very rainy environment, lots of the artifacts or the ancestral sites that once were there would maybe have decomposed or been eroded more quickly. But in the Southwest, lots has been preserved because of the dry climate. So that makes us very fortunate. It makes the descendants of the people who made those sites very fortunate because they have a living history still there for themselves to visit. So that's an important aspect. Also, Indigenous people look at these sites. Sometimes if they don't visit that site, it's because they see it as someplace where the ancestors stay and should be left alone. There was a reason somebody left that location. There's a reason a group left that location, and it was meant to be resting in situ as it is. Chaco Canyon, for example, and all of the wonderful architecture that's been explored there, excavated there, and is now on display as a museum. The indigenous people of that region actually feel quite sad about the fate of Chaco Canyon because it wasn't that nobody remembered it was there. It was that it was a place where certain things happened, and it was revered as a place to be left, to stay exactly like that. So the same for grave goods. If somebody's buried, I mean, imagine your family member. You bury your family member. You put certain trinkets in with them, or maybe some certain jewelry. In the case of ancient sites, it's what we would call artifacts, and those things are meant to stay. It's part of a tradition. It's part of an understanding of what happens in the afterlife. And to disassemble a grave is to disturb the continuum or the balance of energy that somebody has invested in that person's death. So I think that should just about cover the warnings portion. The short message is, when visiting sacred sites or even just archaeological sites in general, village sites, the best way to approach it is to go, look, learn, look at the environment you're in. Try to understand the context of the site that you're visiting. Look at the landscape, water sources, proximity to mountains, to different food sources. That teaches you a lot about what that site is for or had been used for. And look at the art. Try to not walk too much on, scramble around on rocks and things, because you might be eroding something that you don't realize or you haven't seen is there. Try not to wear hats in caves, because the hat can't see above you, and you can bang into something that might be on the ceiling that's important. Don't take dogs if you can help it, because dogs urinate on the rocks. They urinate on petroglyphs, and even just them scrambling around in the dirt the way they do, they may go up on rocks and things that sort of desecrate, or not desecrate, it contributes to the erosion of that site more quickly. So try to leave dogs at home if you can, or just keep them on a short leash and leave them away from where most of the artifacts may be found. In general, just don't touch. Look and don't touch. Take photos, but just don't touch. And it's not to be, a mother hen about it. It truly is out of respect for people who actually do still know those sites are there, whether it appears that way or not. People, indigenous people of the Southwest, know their history and know their ancestral land, and it exists in the way you see it intentionally. So keep that in mind, and happy travels.